Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the King and I Life podcast. It's your man, Soul Toucher, the poet here.
And you know, son, so Lex up in her.
Yes. So, look, without further ado, look, y'all know what to do. Y'all know how to find us and all that good stuff. I want to jump back into this conversation so my old ass don't lose my thoughts.
All right,
Um,
go ahead, get with it.
so we was talking about government, and you was giving, you was dropping your gems and stuff. Um, you was talking about before the pilgrims came and all of
Mm-hmm.
that, and there was something here.
Right.
That is one of the biggest things that people need to take note of as we look at today, we look at yesterday, we look at tomorrow, and we look at the history of this land. I'm not going to say this nation, I'm not going to say this country, this land. Yes, we are a country and a nation today. We have been established as that since 1776 when the Declaration of Independence was signed. But there is no way on earth that any of us, any of us can do any accurate research about what was going on and what was established before those colonizers came to this land, because there are literally no historical documents out there to be found. What I will say, from the limited things that I have looked up and the limited things that I was taught in school, there were different Native American nations on this land, several of them. They were fighting each other, they were getting along with each other, and all types of stuff that we have no documentation of. All we know is the colonizers came over here, they brought a lot of disease, they brought a entrapment religion, and they created a government or a system that robbed those Indian nations of this land. They did a lot of trickery and treachery to obtain all of this land mass. So I'm going to leave it at that. And the other thing that I will add is, you were talking about a building being painted. You want, hey, we wanted this building painted red, but it gets painted blue. Um, I kind of get have an idea of how you look at the whole governmental structure and giving our power away.
All right.
What we need to also understand is that's not only with elected people in the government. And what I mean by that is the city, state, county government, or the government of this country. You have to look at some neighborhoods, some housing developments have HOAs, homeowners association. And in those homeowners, those neighborhoods with homeowners associations, there are things that you cannot do to your own house
Nope.
that you pay for. That you pay for. So when I look at the entire thing that we have going on in this country, I'm not going to look at the top and say this is a bunch of bullshit. I'm going to look at the bottom and say this is bullshit. Because if I have a house in a specific neighborhood that has an HOA, I can't leave. Let's just say I can't leave a lawn chair just laying around in my backyard. I have to cut my grass before it looks a certain way. I have to trim my trees. I cannot put up a specific type of fence that I want, because the HOA decides that. So when we look at this government structure in this country, we have to stop looking all the way at the top. We have to look at the bottom and work our way up, because if we're not doing anything at the base, if we do not do anything at the base, it does not matter what we try to do at the top. Because look at it like look at it like a lizard. You chop the tail off a lizard and the tail grows back. And what I
Right.
mean by that look at the lizard head as the base. That's always going to be there. You chop the tail off, the tail grows back. Nothing has changed. You have to change it at the bottom and move up.
Exactly. I agree with that. I agree with everything you said there. Um, One thing about it though is, again, this is just a conversation about revolution,
Mm-hmm.
um, and the things that are going on within the confines of our nation. At no point would I suggest anyone start a revolution.
Right.
And here's my thinking behind that. For one, there's always infiltration, right?
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, no matter how hard you try to keep your organization solid and together, and you know, no outsiders coming in, there's always going to be someone trying to infiltrate that organization. Whether they're posing as a friend, they're posing as a relative, they're posing as whatever it takes to get on the inside of your organization. So it's kind of like they're always going to try to knock your legs out from underneath you before you even get standing good. And I'm not saying that there aren't radical groups out there, because I'm sure there are some people who know that there are radical groups out there. I don't know any. Let me put that
Right.
out there. I don't know any. But um, anytime you have something like that, again, it takes years and years of planning and putting things together
Right.
before you can even think about getting it done. But not saying it can't be done. I'm just saying it's highly doubtful here within this nation that something like that can be done.
Yeah.
This is definitely not, a small nation.
Mm-hmm.
There is no, you hit them on the left side and I hit them on the right, and bam, we got them.
Right.
They're just too many different angles and too many rocks that have to be turned over in order to see what's fully going on.
Yeah.
But again, getting back on topic, the thing about our nation is there are just so many different moving parts, so
Mm-hmm.
many different levels when it comes down to how our government is set up, how this nation is set up, meaning going back all the way to the smaller communities, to the metropolitan areas, to the rural areas, to the um, larger city areas. I mean, it just goes on and on. This motherfucker is like going down a damn rabbit hole. It's just no fucking bottom. So, in order to even think about doing something like that, it would take shit. I can't even put that shit into words, but it's gonna take more than one generation. I can put it to your ass like that.
Yeah. But before we move on to the next definition, to piggyback off of what you said about, you know, don't even try because there's always someone trying to infiltrate. Um, you know, you don't, someone trying to infiltrate is one aspect of it,
Hmm.
but you also have to take into consideration that people lose focus.
They
People
do.
lose drive. People lose hope. People are not willing to do what is necessary to make change. And I'm not even talking about picking up guns and shedding blood.
No,
I'm talking about basic stuff. So not only do you have to worry about infiltration, you just have to worry about people just being like, man, I ain't wasting my time with that. Um, you you just have, and that's a reality. And
it is. It
it would
really
have to
is.
take generations, because if I mean honestly, if you look at it now, we there were, periods in our communities, our people who wanted to make change, and they fought to make change, and they gave their life to make change.
Damn sure
And
did.
although a lot of change has happened, there were a lot of there was a lot of infiltration, and it was a lot of, you know what, I ain't doing that. I don't see the purpose. I'm not, nah. So that, you know, my thing is this: make what we have work first, and then uh change at the bottom and move it up. But at the same time, it's just, it's so much. It's so much. So I'm gonna get off of that. I'm gonna get off of that, and I'm gonna go to social order.
All right.
Um, the totality of structured society or portion thereof. Um, this is another important one, because when you look at social order, let's just look at our communities, the communities that you and I are from.
All right.
We lack social order. And I say that because we have such a hard time sticking together and uplifting each other, that we are always falling apart. I mean, if you look at a lot of our communities, especially in the big cities, it's like they looking for handouts, they're killing each other, they're drugged up, they're alcoholed out, they're lazy, they this, they that. And although we have community leaders who are trying their best at whatever they're doing,
Right.
some of them are corrupt, some of them are lazy, some of them don't have the best interest. So when we look at social order for us, ugh, um, it's just crazy to me. It's crazy.
It is. I'll say social order for us is it can be done, but it's gonna take those of us who are about our business to stop fucking with everybody else and just deal with the people who are about their business. Because it's kind of like we want to take everybody with us. You know what I mean? Like we want everybody to be fucking successful. We want everybody to, live in a nice home or a nice area or whatever the case may be. But the thing about it is, just because you want that, or we want that for everybody don't want that shit for themselves.
True.
So when we're dealing with our communities, we can sit back and say, yes, other communities look out for each other and they take care of each other. Um, they do have the same problems we have, just not on the same scale.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that. Um, but again, we just have to get away from this damn mindset of we want everybody to go. Everybody's not fucking meant to go. Everybody's not meant to, raise up or rise up to a certain level, um, where life can be appreciated. Um, it just takes that few to come together and have that mind frame of, okay, so we can't take everybody. Not everybody's with what we're trying to do, so let's just work with what we have and move forward from there. So it's kind of like we have to separate because we damn sure can't run together.
agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly, 100%, but I do agree in a slightly different way.
Hmm.
Um, I get it. You can't take everybody with you. You just it's just impossible. Um, but the thing is, we should be able to. Not we should take them. We should be able to because especially for us, it seriously strengthen numbers. Um, but then when you look at it, when you look at the whole of it, um, in order for us to move forward, we're gonna have to take some people with us that don't look like us, that don't come from our background. They just have like minds. And to me, I think that's the best part, but I think that's the sad part as well because it's like, you know, look look at this complexion here. You know, although we have different hues, we come from the same tree,
Right.
and we should be able to, as a whole, take all of us and move us all forward, but we just can't. And it's troubling because it's like that's where social order really starts falling apart. That's where revolution starts losing its steam. This is where the the dynamics of government fail because we have too many people that we either have to leave behind or that choose to stay behind. And as I say, it takes all to make change. A select few can make a few adaptations that are suitable, but when you look at our governmental structure, that's not going to work with just a few. We need the steam of everyone, but like you said, can't take them all.
Um, I'll add this to the conversation. You said that it's going to take us moving forward, and not all of us going to look the same. I agree with that 100%. And the reason I say that is because we don't all have to look the same, but we all got to at least have the same vision of
Right.
what it is and what it's going to take for us to get out of the current situation that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, if we go by, all of us being of the same hue, we're not going to get anywhere. It takes us being of the same mind frame
Yeah.
um, in order to move forward. Because there are people in other communities besides our communities that don't like the current state of where they feel this nation is going. And I agree with them. You know, to each their own. You have your own viewpoints of why you feel that way, and that's cool. I can either agree with it or disagree with it, but at the end of the day, you're entitled to your own opinion. But again, I just think it's gonna take where we all come together, regardless of our skin hue or religious backgrounds or sexual orientation, whatever the case may be. We're just gonna have to have that same vision of where it is we want to go in order to even think about starting something anew. And again, that doesn't always entail violence.
Right.
It just takes the right mind frame.
Yeah. True that. True that. So next we look at system, and that's going to cover structure, boundaries, and purpose. Um, when we think about structure, I guess we'll look at the structure of our government, and again, we have to look at it from the bottom all the way to the top.
Right.
Um, then we got to look at boundaries. Boundaries is a kind of complex thing because that can encompass a whole lot. It can reach into a whole lot of places, like your city, your county, your state, and the boundaries that the government have, and you know where does one entity's boundaries stop, and where are they overlapping, and stuff like that. um and then they would look at the purpose, as far as you know what purpose does it serve, and who does this purpose really benefit, and stuff like that.
Right. I'll I'll say what structure. Uh, when we really break down the word structure, we're looking at two different planes, right? You're looking at the physical plane of it, and we're looking at the unphysical plane of it. So if you take the physical plane, meaning the buildings and the um, the way areas are set up, laid out, things along that line. Even if you were to put a new system in place, would you allow that same structure to exist? You get what I'm saying? Like, do you destroy everything to rebuild,
Oh.
or do you just leave that there and go from there?
Mm,
And then on the flip
mm,
side of that structure, meaning the physical side, meaning the laws and the rules and the regulations,
mm,
how do you even come together to decide, okay, what are we going to keep and are we going to throw away?
mm.
So there's just so
Yeah.
many different facets when it comes down to the structure of things.
Mm,
Um, as far as boundaries, again, that's ooh, like you said, where do one boundary stop and another one pick up? And what do you do with the boundaries that overlap each other? Who
mm,
decides what goes into what space?
mm, bruh.
Again, we're coming back down to laws and rules and regulations. Like, it's
Oh
just so
man.
much that would have to take place to even fathom how to make
Mm.
that work. Yes, we have a general idea based off of the system that's in place now, but again, who's to say that the system that's in place now is truly working?
Mm,
We can, we like to say that it's working, but there are plenty of people who say that they don't think it's working.
mm. Um, look, we about to take a break in a minute. But as you were speaking, that I'm sitting here thinking like, whew, that is a lot of meat to cut off a damn skeleton.
Yes.
Um, and we definitely gonna get into it. But when you look at, I mean, the way that you just explain all that, I'm sitting here shaking my head like, yeah. Um, because when you were when you were talking about, do you get rid of this and bring something else in new? Um, one thing that needs to be understood when you're talking about switching to a different governmental structure for a nation, so to
Hmm.
speak,
Right.
there is no way possible that you can create an entirely new type of government. And I say that because around this globe, there are governmental systems that have been in place for centuries. And what happens is people have traveled to different places, and they've birthed new types of governments off of existing ones. So there's literally no way that you can really get rid of a type of government and come in with a totally new one, because
Right.
with the knowledge that we have today of government structures around the world, and
Mm-hmm.
everyone doing their Google searches or they cracking open a book or whatever, wherever they're getting their information from, they're going to look at government structures around the world and cherry pick those parts from those governmental structures to create the government structure that they have in mind. But you have to fully comprehend one major thing. When you cherry pick from different types of governments, some of those ideas are going to clash, and they're going to clash horribly. And you're going to have to structure it in a way to where it does not clash in a way to where it cancels each other out. That is bound to happen when people try to come up with a new type of government.
Yeah, definitely. Um, I'm trying to think of this one figure from history. Uh, something the Great. What was his name?
Alexander?
Thank you. Um, this person, Alexander, was able to conquer a lot of land, a lot of different nations. But the one thing about him that made him supposedly great was his mind frame of, when I come into a new nation or a new land, I'm not going to change their way of lives, meaning, their traditions or their walks of life to a certain extent. I'm just going to take my system and kind of mesh it in with their system,
Hmm.
meaning, I'll let you keep all of your land and keep your traditions and all that, but basically, y'all motherfuckers gonna have to bow down to me. You're gonna have to do that. You're gonna have to, get down on your knee and give me a pledge, or whatever the case may be. Just know that I'm the biggest, baddest MFer on the block. So I'm gonna leave you alone, but just know that this shit belongs to me.
Hmm.
So carry on, live your life, but if you get out of line, just remember I will be back.
Off with your
So
head.
I think that's kind of like how it would be now for any new nation to be started, for a new system to take place. You could not come in there and take over and destroy everything. You will have to let be what is there be. But you just got to let everybody know I'm the biggest, baddest MFer on the block. So keep that in mind.
And that's where the conflict comes in.
Yes, sir. Exactly.
We have made it through another part of this conversation. Um, but hey, we are just getting started. It's your man, Soul Touch of the Poet, with my brother in here.
Son Soul X.
King and I Life Podcast, and we'll be back.
Yes, sir.